Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast once again. Thank you very much to my return visitors and my subscribers. Can't do this without you. I so appreciate it. And speaking of return visitors, this gentleman right here, Mr. Mike Mostert from In Theory, a return visitor many times over. He's always very, very generous and gracious with his time. We so appreciate it. In Theory, coming off a great tour. Acts like Angel, James Nichols, Zebra, and more. They also have another single out, making it onto radio and the charts, I'm sure. Down is the name of that single. Just recently on the Grammy ballot for consideration in the nomination. We definitely want to talk about that. That's a big, big step in the right direction. They are getting ready to collaborate with one of the great guitar players of our time, Mr. Eric Gales. We definitely want to talk about that. Eric's been on the show, and we love him too. Mike, it's great to have you once again. I so appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Well, you can't keep me away, Scott. So
I hope not.
I'm following you around.
That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. Well, I see the new CD. I see the new single, Down. It's on Promised Land, the new CD. It's available on the website. Uh, Tell me about the CD. Tell me about, how many tracks do we have on the CD?
Well, it's an EP.
Okay.
But the cool thing is it shows a little bit a different side of, I feel, of In Theory. I think the first album was a little bit more, I'd call it a little bit more of the Muscle Shoals is in it. This one's a little bit more, it's just a little bit different in tones and players. But I also want to let your listeners know on this record, we also have this guy, Vinny Appice. He's playing drums on a couple of tracks. And then Perry Richardson from Stryper is also on the album. So that's a little bit of a change from the first album. So obviously the way they play, they're bringing themselves to to the In Theory sound of Tony and I. So really good. We're very excited to work with those guys.
Yeah, man, and those guys are top notch too, man. So good. Vinny, of course, and so many things. Sabbath, most notably for me, and the Dio stuff. Wow.
Yeah, and for me, I was such a Dio fan, so to play with Vinny was such a if you want to call it an honor, but it was just like, hey, I'm playing with Vinny, because I listened to him. How many times I've played that the first Dio records. I mean, probably 5,000 times I've scratched it on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he has a significant sound for a drummer that's very difficult, I think. And I hear a song and I that sounds like Vinny.
Yeah, he definitely imposes, I have to say, his will or his interpretation more so than any other drummer I've worked with. He has a certain way or timing when he does a fill or how he does a fill, and and I call it, he has these. It's not really that technical. I call it, it's a lack of articulation probably, but this how he does his kick drums. There's an implied kick drum when he's not even playing a kick drum. It's really interesting how he does these things.
Yeah.
So as a producer for In Theory and stuff, I break down everybody, and and I was like, wow, he's doing this, he's doing that, and everybody has something a little bit different. Like even when we brought in Perry, from Stryper,
yeah,
which I thought was very unique. He was playing a 5-string bass. Mm-hmm. But the 5-string bass was tuned to an E flat. So here he is, he's tuned half step down and playing a 5-string with the low B, which is technically a low A at that point, or B flat, I should say. And then he's picking up instead of down. I'm like,
wow,
how he did that. And then we try to put it back in regular tuning, it didn't work. So, but again, if you put him and Vinny on a track, it's just so different. It's just different approaches.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, Perry, another one. I saw him with Stryper, and wow, it was just a blast. I mean, he comes at you. He's just he's animal. His sound is just wow. It's really.
It was so funny. I just saw Stryper. I helped take care of my parents, and he happened to be playing a half hour from my parents' house, and I told him I was going to come down. And He goes, yeah, just come down. I'll take care of you. So it was the funny thing is, I went there and they didn't have passes or anything. So,
Right.
so the guy that will call goes, well, here's a ticket, So I said, it's cool, So I go walk, and sure enough, he gets me in. I'm in the front row, and on that section, there's nobody in the front row, and maybe 8 seats except for me, and I'm right in front of Perry, and all of a sudden he looks up, and I mean, it really warmed my heart, and he was so happy to see me. And then in the middle of the song, or towards the end of the song, once it was done, he walked to the end of the stage and he shakes my hand like in front of everybody. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Like him and I are having a conversation in the middle of a concert in front of 1,000 people. And then this show, they were doing 2 sets. So in the middle of the set, I walk back out, I come back in, and they're doing a set. And also, like 3 songs in, he reaches in his pocket again. Now he hands me a pass. In front of it. Just it was a funny moment how he did it. It was hilarious.
Right. Right in the middle of the show, just doing
it was right in the middle of the show. He interrupted the show just to give me a pass. And then and I think the people at the venue were confused, and then they brought me back, and it was after they got done, it was only Perry and I in the back. We're like, we're like, because we were not expecting to see each other at that point. Right. And we just in the dark alley and somewhere in Georgia, we ran into each other, and it was great. It was. He's such a nice guy, and the cool thing about Perry, because I told him that we were talking about the Grammys, and let's see if I have it here. Do I have it here? Sure enough, I don't have it here. But Perry played on that song "Down" that was up for a Grammy consideration.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him about that. So when I told him about that, he was, super excited. So he sent me this in the mail, as you can see. And so on his, he's such a sweet guy. He writes, hope I like the new Striper CD, and congrats on the Grammy nomination. That's incredible, Perry.
Man, that's awesome. So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah,
and he's a badass bass player, on top of that, but
yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, and it's great to see. He's been in this business for a very long time too, and it's great to see the excitement that still happens with the veteran players like that. It's awesome. Because you when you're doing the same things for years and years, decades, it can get tiring or old.
But I've been finding lately. I'm not sure. I know that you go to a lot of shows and you know a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the veterans, at least what I'm noticing more lately, the people that have been around and sort of got like a second life at their career, where it's extended. It seems like they appreciate people more, or they appreciate their fans more. It seems like the people that are in their 20s and 30s, the up and comers, who think there's something, they have more of the attitude of, hey, you know who I am? And as these people have a career of 30, 40 years, have sold millions of records, are the nicest people on the planet.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I've had nothing but great experiences, with the veterans for sure. And things are different now, and you've been doing the same, the things that you do, and there's still an appreciation for it from the fans, and I think they appreciate that. Hey, you still like me. That's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. It's a good feeling for me as a fan. I go see Judas Priest, and the place is packed. With young people and people my age and older. There's still an appreciation for it, which is great to see.
It's like, I feel like you said, it's reciprocal. It's even more so. There's less of a barrier, between the artist and the fans. Where I see, they're reaching out. That they're becoming even more so the fans' lives, and vice versa. And it seems like they know the fans by name, and I'm really getting to see a lot of that firsthand.
Yeah.
And I mean, even I have to say, in theory, we're back and up and coming in a lot of ways. I mean, our fan base is, especially since we last saw you, it's just honestly it's just blown up so much, and like the fan response and it's insane. You know, it's I think you saw some one of our early shows, but
Hmm?
I felt like we were just getting our feet wet as what we are live. You know, trying to interpret
Right.
what the records are live. But I think by the time we got to the first show of the Angel tour, yeah, we had sea legs underneath us, and it was just like even better than before. And I have to say, I have to be really honest about it. The reaction wasn't like, you know, when people are like, oh, you're good, you know, and that's when you know, like, you're good. You didn't really, oh, this is how I look at it. But the reaction has been, oh my god, it's like, oh my god, and so many people like just want to tell me a guitar story, like, oh my god, you remind me of this person and that person and this person. Let me tell you, and they want to take selfies and they want to do autographs and they wanted this
Great.
talk to you about guitars. And honestly, I had gotten the same thing. I was so appreciative that like, you know, like the Sally Field, like they really love me. They really love me.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but I was just so really, honestly, I was just so blown away that their reaction was that strong. And you know, this we're playing and people are just jumping up and high fiving when I'm playing them. It's been incredible, you know, the last, you know, 20 some odd shows that we've done, you know, since then. You know, so we're excited to get back out there and show the new incarnation of In Theory.
That's great, man. And you know, you work very hard at what you do, and you put a lot of your blood and your soul into it. And to have that kind of adulation and you know, people appreciating what you do and appreciating what's going into their ears, that's tremendous. That's why you do it, you know.
Right.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And you know, since I've known you guys, you've always done things independently, from you know beginning head to toe, beginning to end. You know, the business side of it, the promotion side. You know, you arrange all this thing, book your, you know, you get somebody, you hire somebody, or maybe to book your shows, you book your own shows. You know,
Right.
you're doing all of this stuff. It's not like, you know, you just make the music. You know, that would be great. That's a chore in its own. But to do
Right.
all of this stuff and balance it and get it all done. Have you ever thought about, and it's funded all by you guys, so you're putting your whole being into what you do. Have you ever thought about signing a deal with a label?
We've decided we're looking into it, and it was sort of there's been so many instances of, like I said, we're working on certain collaborations, and
Hmm?
there's certain things that I'm doing, like how I do my stories and stuff. As you can tell, I'm very active with the stories. But with that being said, I noticed what caught my eyes. I noticed certain labels have been following us, and what I that's what's got me really curious about. It's not like, you know, they're prominent labels, and these prominent labels are not only following us, they're sharing our music and videos, and we're not even signed to them.
Wow.
You
That,
know, and it's four labels that are doing that, that are pretty big, and on top of that, there's promoters that are doing that.
hmm,
You know, and some of the biggest bands, like sometimes, I mean, honestly, seriously, um, you know, I do have an ego, but you know, somewhat humbling, you know, but these
right.
people that watch me that are my idols and heroes, and
Yeah.
you know, and it's, I mean, every single day there's somebody quite famous that is giving me like a heart or, you know, thumbs up. I'm like, oh my god, that person's watching me, and that person's watching me, and
Yep.
it's every single day, you know. So,
Yep.
but because of these things, again, it's just made us think that, um, because, you know, like you said, we've been doing everything independently. Just to get back to your question, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to do it. You know, I think we've exhausted that, you know, what we can do. I mean, we have a strong distribution,
Right.
but it's a division of that distribution, which I won't name, but, you know, but I think they can only, since we're like, you know, number, you know, 25,000 in their roster,
Right.
there's a certain priority level that we know exists with that. So we still have to do everything ourselves. I mean, the good thing is, of course, yeah, do we own our own publishing? Yes. Do we own our own masters? Yes. Do we own our own copyrights? Yes. But you know, but with the record company that our record companies that have been watching us, we also get their marketing machine as well. So we get their marketing machine, we would get their radio team, we would get their booking people. So there's, all these additional things that we enhance what we already have. So I think, we're looking at it. That's all I can say. We're looking at it because now they're looking at us.
Yeah, and I think, there is a certain level that you can get to independently. To be an independent and get to that upper echelon, is close to impossible. You need that machine at some point. Uh,
Right.
Maybe not from the beginning, because I mean, it is great that you've gotten to the level you've gotten independently, because like you say, you own everything you've done. You know how it all works. So, you have this knowledge of, what's a good deal and what's not a good deal because you've done it. Uh,
Right.
so that knowledge of doing things behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will, in the business is a great, great experience. So I think your timing is great. I think it's great, great timing. Yeah, I think the band is definitely ready to make that jump and get the
Yeah.
machine working for it.
And I think from a big machine standpoint, we are. And I think when the people hear the next set of songs that we've been working on, we went a little bit different. I don't know if it's necessarily a different route, but we noticed it's a route that is popular in what, if you want to call music, in the music business, 2024, 2023, of where you're a band, but you're collaborating with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So in our case, we were, or I think now we're going to be on our second song, but we're working with Tommy Henriksen, from the Hollywood Vampires, Crossbone Scully, Alice
Yeah.
Cooper, and a few
Right.
assorted folks. And it was actually a really kind of cool thing to happen. I've known Tommy since, we were teenagers. I opened up for him many, 30, 40 times. We went to music college together. We wrote together in the 90s.
That's great.
And for years, he was trying to get me, when I had stepped away from music. The funny thing with him, and we never really talked about it, but for almost like a 2-year period, he was hooking me up with all these different managers and these big people to get me to play with these people. And I never knew why, but he always did. And then we just didn't talk for quite a bit. And then we got reconnected, and we just started talking. And we were like, we should collaborate. I mean, it was really that simple. And and I'm very methodical, very let's go. So, and I said, okay, well, what do you need from us? And he's like, I said, you want me to tracks done this? And he goes, yeah. So I was out in California, and then as soon as I flew back, boom, I got the tracks all cut. Boom, I go, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's how I am. I'm just very, I just feel like, and I always say it's a cliche for a lot of people, but it's not a cliche on how I live my life. But I feel that, time is a commodity, time is precious. And I feel, as long as I can breathe, I'm going to do everything in my power to follow my passions, my dreams, and that's how I live my life. And so anyway, so at times I'm sending him stuff, and now we're finally at the mix stage. And the really cool thing about this is, obviously, he's influenced by Mutt Lange as well.
Yeah.
And we have, on the first track is actually Mutt Lange's mixer is mixing our first song. And that's going to be done in about 2 or 3 days. And Tommy and I have worked on that since September. And I think when people hear it, I'm telling you, I'm going to say it's a hit, but it's like if you took In Theory, Aerosmith, and add like Mutt Lange to it, that's what it is. It's like a modern Aerosmith. Like you still have the roots of Tony and I got that blues roots thing going.
Oh, yeah.
Add a little polish of Mutt Lange, and you got that. And it's just, honestly, it's the best. It's the best I've played, and the song is so strong.
Wow.
And then, and right now, like I said, and then Tommy and I just started on the next set of songs. And then the next thing, which I just did this weekend, is our friend Eric GALES.
Yes.
And that's another thing is of course there's the pragmatic end, right? There's the business, you want to collaborate. You want to get the visibility.
Right.
But there's also the bucket list thing. Again, in a different reason, there's the bucket list for me. There's people I've always wanted to play with, and Eric is one of my idols.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
and how this whole thing came about was through I'm not sure if you know who Victor Wooten is.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Crazy great bass player. One of my favorites.
Right. So Victor is a family friend, and maybe it was 7, 8 months ago, I saw that Eric was playing at Victor's private camp, and I told Victor, I said, I want to play with him. He's on my bucket list. And Victor was like, come on up, man. No problem. And but then I'm in a situation. I'm taking care of my parents, so I couldn't make it up to see him. And then it was all by fluke, and I saw that Eric did a post saying people he wants to play with. He's mentioned Bruno Mars, and so I'm like, oh, he's looking to collaborate. Just sort of like something goes through my head. So I reached out to him and said, Victor was trying to connect us, but this is my situation. I couldn't get to see you. Maybe I would love to, see if we can connect. And then 5 minutes later, he gets right back to me. He says, yeah, let's see how we vibe. Let's see how your schedule looks, how my schedule looks. And by chance, Scott, a month later, he happened to be playing in Georgia, right by my parents' house. So I reached out and said, he said, you want to connect? I go, let's try to connect. He goes, come down to sound check. Let's go meet. And we end up talking, and he goes, Mike, instead of jamming, let's do some music together. I have a come to my studio in North Carolina. And I was like, okay. He goes, but my tour is going to end in December. Let's wait till then. And then we decided on a particular song. We actually ended up doing a cover, but we did it our way. And what I did to stack the deck, we added, you know who Glenn Sobel is?
Yeah. Yeah. Alice Cooper's drummer.
Right. And the Hollywood Vampires, and a few other, right? Motley Crue.
Yeah.
So he's on drums, right? So, you got Eric, Glenn on drums. And then on bass, we have, who Jimbo Hart is?
That's familiar. Not
Okay.
exactly.
So Jimbo's been the bass player for Jason Isbell.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's another guy's like superstar, Jimbo. Then we add Clayton Ivy, who's been obviously on all the In Theory stuff, the original Swamper.
Yep.
And then on guitars, it's Eric and myself.
Wow.
And then Tony. And I have to say, and I'll say it on the air before anybody hears, I think when people hear Tony on this, can we curse? I said, I'll curse anyway, but you can bleep me.
Yeah, sure.
People are going to shit when they hear Tony on this. I'm telling you, if this doesn't change the course of how people, like, Tony's always been a great singer. But when you hear this, it's like, it's Tony, but it's a male. It's almost like there's a little Janice in him, but there's a little bit more to it. And honestly, it gives me. I've been working with Tony for many, many years,
right?
And every time I hear it now, when he sings, it sends chills. I get chills. I'm like, wow, like,
man.
And he does and this was the track. It was, Tony and I are like brothers, so we have that brother relationship where there's that love-hate. You love your brother, you want to strangle your brother.
Right.
And what happens, we cut the tracks originally with another drummer and bass player, and we were trying to do it from another version from another band because they did with an orchestra. And I thought, okay, if it's structured, then everything will go to a grid. We can do it to a certain timing.
Right.
And so Tony did all his vocals the day before, and in the afternoon, it was maybe 3:30. I go, we can't keep any of your vocals. And he was pissed. He was cursing me up and down. But I'm like, but you got to do it, And I'm always calm. I'm like, okay, then. Well, when can you do it? I said, well, I'll be home in about 40 minutes. I said, okay, we need it ASAP. So he came home 40 minutes, and I know Tony well enough on how he works. So he cut the track one take, angry as fuck. It was the best he ever sounded because, again, maybe because he wasn't thinking and he just wanted to like kill it. And I'm telling you, when you hear it, it's incredible. And of course, then you add like everybody on it. It's like Sobel, he's doing some stuff. Oh my God, and the bass player just worked out quite well. He has that John Paul Jones thing, but it's his own. He does some, you know, just got this little swag, smoothness to him. And then Eric and I just go and be Eric and I, and that was a cool experience, because hey, he's one of my idols, and I felt it pushed me, and I felt it gave me some sort of like a validation. Like,
Right.
I use the analogy of he did that song Crown, right? It was him against Bonamassa. How he's trying to reach that level.
Yeah.
For
Exactly.
me, it was my analogy is the Rocky movie. I'm Rocky. He's Apollo Creed.
Right.
Right. So in the movie, he's able to knock down the champ. One round, he was able to knock him down, and he lasted the whole thing. But by doing that, it gave him the whatever validity of, yeah, I
Totally.
can go 12 rounds at the champ, and I could be as good as the champ.
Yep.
And that's how I felt. Like when you hear the tracks, you'll be like, okay, like and he pushed me hard, and he was very hard on himself, and he was hard on me, but he was equally as anytime like he was, he felt he made a mistake. He was like screaming at himself, And I love it. I have all these videos, and he makes a mistake. He's like, ah, you know. Um, and then afterwards it was really nice. He sent me a text. He goes, "I want to make sure you got everything you want, because obviously at the end of the day, it's still my track, and I'm the
Right.
producer of it. He goes, I want to make sure you got everything, and it's it's cool. He goes, I want to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about your family, and we're going to be doing this again. So I thought even after it was all said
Right.
and done, that he was a really kind man.
Yeah, yeah. When I had him on the show, I mean, it was, and again, I so appreciate when you guys give me the time. So, and a guy like that I know is being torn in 100 different directions.
Yeah,
He was, he was at like a shop getting something worked on, and he made time for me in between his getting things, trying to get things done, and he was so gracious and so friendly, and made sure that we covered everything that we wanted to cover, and I mean, it was just a great guy, and it's a really sweet human being. It was a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like I said, I mean,
yeah,
for me, it was very interesting with him because first when I saw him again, he gave me like the big bear hug, and he's not really that guy. He's a very serious cat. But
yeah,
when it came to doing the music and doing the tracks, he's extremely serious and intense.
yeah.
And
He's the
so
real deal.
yeah, I mean, even like his expression, like you play, and sometimes you play and you get an expression, and
Mhm.
him, you could tell he's trying to get his own stuff together,
Yeah,
But there's a lot of takeaways I got from that, but one of them was he put a lot of time into it and just wanted it right because he cared that much about my music as well. He
yep,
wanted it right because he could just been like, it's your track. You want me to just play a solo? It's cool.
right.
But we did we didn't do a mic marathon 15-hour session, but we certainly did a 9-hour session.
Yeah,
And but again, it was him and his producer that his producer played the role of an engineer. They both cared enough. When I say Scott, even down to the last, getting one note right or one vibrato right.
yeah.
And there's one thing I can say it on the air, it blew me away. And I had this, me with the producer, I have a lot of ideas, sometimes too many ideas, but I hear things, and I
Yeah,
want to explore. I want to explore. We're like I talking about having a different perspective about photography. I'm like that with music. I want to find something new. I want to find something that excites me, something that's different.
right.
And I'm trying to explain to him about this intro I have, and he's looking at me. I'm like I'm nuts. He's like, Mike, this is not going to work. He was like, I'm like, don't worry about it. Like I always like my famous last words, even like to Tony. Don't worry about it. It's going to come out great. Don't worry about it. So we did this whole thing. I had this whole concept, and then he did this one riff. I'm like, that's the riff. I cut out like X amount of it and left this little riff, and then I duplicated the riff. So we start off with this riff, and he's walking out. It's so funny. He's got the what do they call it? It's almost like a PJs. He's got his matching pajamas essentially.
Right.
And, he's out the door, and all of a sudden he's talking to the engineer. He goes, "That lick, it's not right." And he's gone already. He's in the parking lot. He hears the playback. He comes back in. He's like, "I don't like this." So he's trying to redo it, or thinking like they were trying to edit to have it make sense.
Yeah.
He did something that blew me away because he's a lefty that plays lefty, right? He has his guitar strung lefty.
Right.
Hey man, let me borrow your guitar. So now he took a righty guitar, played it lefty. It wasn't a lefty lefty; it was a righty being played.
Man.
So it was upside down, and he played it just as well as a lefty lefty. And that's the opening track is me and him start with this lick. I put little clips on it in my stories where I'm doing the lick on the guitar, he's doing it, and we do it. It was really fun because I'm like, "What are you playing there?" He goes, "I'm doing." He's kind of serious. "I'm doing this," but he didn't show me. I just had to hear.
Right.
And then, but that's the opening of the song. But the fact that he could play lefty lefty, a righty lefty, and I'm sure he could play righty righty and lefty lefty.
I mean, how does a brain work that way, man? I mean, my brain goes forward. If it has to go backwards, forget it. This thing's going sideways and diagonally and everything else. It's like, wow, how does the guy do that?
And I have enough problems just being righty.
Right, really. I mean, seriously, it's just he is one of a kind, definitely. He's thrilling to hear. I love what he does.
I think people will be surprised when they hear it. I mean, it's not just him and I, so to speak. When they, like I said, when they hear Tony, and there's a lot of subtle things. I mean, just like I said, with Glenn Sobel and Jimbo Hart, it's
crazy.
Obviously it's In Theory, doing a cover, but it's a very, I wouldn't say a popular cover. It's a popular song. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but we did it our way. Like the choice of notes, the choice of rhythms. Everybody made it their own. There's a lot of nuances to it, and I couldn't be more proud of like our interpretation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we spoke about, hey, Glenn, do it this way. Hey, Tony, do it this way. Mike, do it this way.
Right.
Eric, do it this way. We all heard what we heard, and then, and then I piece it all together.
It happens really organically. Yeah.
And what we did with everybody, like Glenn did it I have 4 full takes and then of him doing it, and I have to say with him. He came in last minute, and what happened was, we have a drummer and bass player that played on it, and they did a good job. It was solid, but I felt it was not dynamic enough. And being at a sound check with Eric GALES, I knew what I was walking into.
Right.
So this was on a Tuesday. I cut it with them. I reached out to Glenn Tuesday at like 10 p.m. at night. I said, Glenn, I was talking to Tommy Hendrickson. Tommy says, you can help me out with this. It was like that. He goes, well, and Glenn was such a nice guy, a super nice guy. And he's getting his engineers on the phone. He's getting all these people. By 11:30 that night, he goes, okay, my engineer can do it. He got his drum tech, redid all his drum heads. And then he goes, all right, Thursday, I can start at 10:30 in the morning, which turns out to be 1:30 or 12:30 at my time.
Right.
And we cut the tracks, and sure enough, the bass player, everything worked out just the way it's supposed to. He ended up getting COVID, so we did his tracks, even though he was literally 1 mile from our studio, through the software called Audio Movers. So essentially, what he was hearing through his DAW and his speakers is what we heard through our speakers in real time. So I had him on the phone, and I could hear his track in real time.
Wow.
And here he is with COVID. He's hacking all over the place. But both those guys, we didn't have to do anything. Like it was, it's just which interpretation I wanted, really.
Yeah.
I couldn't be prouder. Like I said, and last night we think it's the final mix, but knowing me, I'll probably do one more mix.
It's never done, right?
Well, it's a weird thing. It's for me. It's like I feel like I exhaust that emotion to get the best I can be, or the best I can be, or the best I think I can get it to sound.
Sure.
But once I exhaust it, seriously, I never listen to it again until I have to go on the road, or
Yeah.
because by that point I have listened to it 2,000 times, 3,000 times.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, even last night to get in at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, even though this one was a local one, I drove maybe around for another hour just to make sure the mix was right. But typically, for an In Theory mix, and that's maybe why I think I'll do one more mix. Um, and this is not even exaggeration. Usually, when I'm saying, okay, this is the final mix,
Right.
I'll just get in my car. I don't even know where I'm going to go, and I will drive for 5 hours at least. And what I do is I set because I know how it's supposed to sound in my car.
Right.
So I'll set
Right.
the volume, right? So I set the volume at 7, play a song again, then I do it at 8, then I do it at 9, do it at 10, do it at 11, until like 37 is the sweet spot in my car. But what I'm doing in between, I'm listening how the frequencies are playing with each other with all the instruments. Because also, like, say at 23, say the kick drum's getting lost versus the guitar, or there's a vocal thing going on that's not meshing with the guitars.
Right.
I start hearing things at different frequencies, and then I try to get a balance, and I'm making notes. And sometimes, like, I've ended up in Texas, I've ended up in the Panhandle. I just go, I just get so immersed with it. It's,
That's
you know,
cool.
it, it's the piece of me, So like I said, by the time I'm done, I don't want to hear it anymore because I've exhausted every emotion and
Right.
mentally, physically, emotionally to get it right. And then I'm done. And then it's funny. And then, like, every once in a while, I'll come back on, I'll listen, I go, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. It's like that, because I forgot about it. But I know
Right.
if I get to the point where I'm like, it's final, it's good, then I know it's good. And I just
Yeah.
want to go to the next thing. So, like what we're doing with Tommy, I know we're at the mix stage. We're at the final mix. We're like I said, where we're having Mutt Lang's guy. Ali is mixing the first single, and Tommy and I are already on our second song, and we're doing the thing with GALES, and then Tony and I are working on a fourth song. So, it feels like I just like to keep working.
Yeah. Yeah. We like to see you keep working. I like to hear it for sure.
You know, and then you'll see us a lot more on the road this year. That's another thing too. We just got while I was in the studio, I'm excited. We just got a New York show with Angel.
Yeah. I saw a
Um,
few in March, right?
that one's in March, but we're also playing up in Boston with them. We're doing a West Coast run with them. We're also doing Pennsylvania, and a lot of these are theater gigs versus bar gigs. So I'm kind of,
Right.
and some of these, what I recall is, some of these they sold out the last time they played there. So
Yeah.
we know this time playing out with them, it's going to be a packed house.
Yep.
And that's another thing too with Angel.
Love that
You
band.
know, and so now Punky and I is another thing. And I think you and I spoke about Punk. You told my brother had died,
Yeah.
um, but there was 3 records that he first got me: On Earth as in Heaven by Angel, Aerosmith Rocks, and Kiss Alive. And so at 11 years old, my brother used to call me Punky. He was 3 years older than me, but he died. He died at 30 years old in a car crash. And when I met with Punky, I told him, I said, my brother used to call me Punky after that. And it turns out Punky and I are quite alike. We're both business minded. It was so identical. And he would watch me, initially, he would just watch me at sound check. And he goes, man, you got that blues thing, man. You can play. Like he was really, at first I was like, is he sincere? And then there was a
Right.
couple of nights where Angel left, everybody in theory left me. And so Punky and I just ended up talking, just having beers for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And we are just so alike. And honestly, this is the thing that, honestly, that's one of the things that is a highlight for me. Yet again, he's another guy he's one of my heroes.
Me too.
He's
Yep.
influenced me. But there were nights when, depending on, how the venue is,
Hmm.
every night he would stay on the stage and watch me play.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
And
a compliment. Yeah.
and when I was on, he was gunning. You know, like you could felt the energy. Like he was following me, which is was really like I took that as the most complimentary thing
Yep.
ever. And when I was sort of off, you know, he was punk. He was still great. But when I was on, he was doing extended solos. He's pulling his shit out.
Yeah.
And and then after that, you know, him and I became now we've become really good friends. And he's going to come to Muscle Shoals, and him and I are working on a record together.
Wow, that's
On
awesome.
top of that, and like he keeps telling me, he goes, Mike, like, because when I see you, I want to play guitar,
Ah, that's man. That's
you
awesome.
know, and I'm like, you know, I want to cry on the phone, like, really, Punky,
Yep.
you
Seriously.
know. But he, you know, and then we were joking around about the Punky, so it's half of it is joking, but half of it may be serious. Like we are recording together, but we're almost thinking about because my brother used to call me Punky, and he's Punky. We want to call it the two Punkies, you know.
Great.
You know, and he calls me Mozart instead of Mostert. He goes, look, Punky Meadows and Punky Mozart, and we'll do some like rock stuff. So him and I have just been we're gonna try to do it in December, but it just looks like it's not gonna happen between our schedules. But like I said, he wants to come down here so bad, and again, and again, we're going to decide if it's going to be a record of the two Punkies or make it in theory with special guests, Punky on a couple of songs. But it's definitely that's another one that's 100% in the works, and him and I talk at least once a week about what we're going to do musically together, and
That is cool.
so again, that's another one that's on the a bucket list, but I think even more so than the other ones that we became really good friends just
Yeah.
because of touring,
That's
and we're so much, and like I said, and we're so much alike. It's kind
yeah.
of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I actually contacted him. He's got a Christmas song out, and I want
Yeah.
to talk to him about that and promote that. He's busy. He hasn't gotten back to me. So yeah, but we can maybe get him on and talk about what you guys are working on. That would be great.
If you want, I mean, I can reach out and give him a call and see if he wants to get on your show.
Yeah,
I know
yeah. I mean,
I know
I
he's
know
really
he's busy
I know
too.
he's really proud of his the Christmas song because it's a funny thing because when we first started talking about recording, he was telling me about his Christmas song, and
Yeah,
originally him and I were going to do a blues thing, and so that so it ended up like with Gales and all that stuff, and
right.
that was the thing. And then he was bringing lyrics, and he's like, "Oh, why don't we do something more?" And originally he was going to do the Christmas song here. I was going to bring some of the Muscle Shoals people to help him with it, and then he goes, "No, I got somebody good," and they'll. He's in North Carolina, but it was funny. But it was at the same time we started trying to figure out our plans to record together. Is when he started working on the Christmas song. So I heard a very primitive version of it of Punky singing the Christmas lyrics on my phone. So
That's
I right. So I have a whole different perspective, and again, what I thought was very complimentary. And once he had it done and mastered, he blew up my phone. He sent a text. He goes, "Mike, you have to hear it and let me know what you think." The fact that he wants my opinion, and it's
yep.
vice versa. Like I'm working on things. I go, "What do you think?" And we both dig deep in each other's mixes. And again, that was another complimentary thing. Not just that he appreciated my guitar playing. There's a lot of nuances in my producing, and he picked up on that. And I said, we use the same line on each other, which is make sure you have your earbuds or your headphones. I mean, honestly, serious. And if you put on In Theory any song, if you listen with headphones or earbuds and really listen, like just pick an instrument or pick one at a time, you'll hear something different each time that you didn't hear before.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Yeah, and that's always been the things that the production and that record right there was the first one to really do it for me. The first Montrose record. Uh
Right?
with Bad Motor Scooter, and you get that 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 motorcycle like sound, and it goes from ear to ear, and then
Uh-huh.
Space Station Number 5 is flying over your head, and it's the headphone experience on that production is tremendous. It's
Sure.
just there's so much little technical nuances to it that, if you're not listening, you'll miss it. And each time you listen, it's going to be a different experience, and it's you never get tired of it. It's just and that's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish. And there's also things that I do purposely, like in a mix. There's certain things I center in. Basically,
Right.
it's not really that technical, but I do it on purpose. There's certain instruments at certain times. If you're going to go from a spectrum from left to right, for
Mhm.
instance, there's things I'm putting dead center, and what it does to you as a listener, and people, and you. I watch it all the time, and it's amazing. It's a human nature thing that people don't realize. So what it does, you're listening to music, all right, and you'll start doing this. You start going in. You don't realize your head starts going in closer to the speaker, and that's because of things that we're doing technically in the mix.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. It's a ethereal kind of emotion, plays with your emotions.
Right.
Yeah, it's and it can be, displacement of sort, when I listen to something like that, and Floyd did it a lot, where you're hearing things over here, and it just kind of, it throws you that way. It's just a bash in the head, and it's this whole, it's a beautiful thing. It adds a new dimension to
Absolutely.
just the music. The music is great the way it is. When you throw that kind of production in there and those kinds of things, it becomes extra sensory. Uh,
Yeah. And you think about it, because music is. I mean, it is at its core. It's something that's primitive, right? It's just
right.
vibrations, right? So, as you know, I own a tuner company, and I've studied this, quite deeply. But even when you do say like an A440, which is standard tuning,
Mm-hmm.
so to hit an A note, vibrations have to go at a certain speed to create an A note. And all around you, all day long, you hear noises. These are vibrations caused by nature.
Right.
And when you're doing music, you work with that vibration, and
Yeah.
these different combinations of vibrations create emotions.
Yep.
You
And that's
know,
why we have certain people listen to certain music, or certain
yes,
people feel a certain way when there's a crying baby, or, clanking
absolutely.
glasses, that kind of thing. For sure. I've said, my affinity for music and sound is both a blessing and a curse, because I go to a construction site, I hear a jackhammer, and I hear those sounds, and I hear music. I hear, it's rhythmic. It's
Right,
emotional. I go to a bar and I hear those glasses and bottles, and the fuzz of the chatter. I hear rhythm in that. I hear music. Uh,
right.
and
Really, it is.
and a lot of times it's horrible music. The construction site isn't a great song to listen to, but it's like I say, it's a blessing and a curse. But I don't
Right,
hear it for just, this banging thing. I hear rhythm, and I hear those vibrations and those notes. They all become part of a rhythm for me. So it's a human element, it's human emotion put to sound. Pretty
yeah,
it's pretty sensational, man. Uh, Mike, I gotta let you go. This has been great, man. You got
yeah. And I
so
appreciate
much.
you fitting me in on. We had a little challenge connecting today, and it's all my fault,
No, no,
but
no, 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 no.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, man. I know you're a busy guy, and you give us so much of yourself in your music and everything else, and you're giving yourself, your time here. Like I say, I always appreciate it. It's just so gracious with your time, and I love the conversation. So yeah, it's great to have you always. My door, of course, as you know, always open to you. And yeah, I miss Tony. I miss him. We'll all connect again.
And he's out goofing off somewhere. You know the story.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope he's
You
enjoying
know,
himself.
you can't take them anywhere. Those singers.
I love it. Yeah, and if I don't see you before, I will see you on the road.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
you like.
hope. Yeah, well, I know we're working on a Midwest run. I know we have a Canada run. So
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys again. And
yeah, we should be your way soon. You're in Chicago
yep,
or near
yep,
it.
yep, yep.
So I know. I'm pretty sure we're going to be close. I know we're going to be pretty close in your area. So I'm not sure if it's going to be with the Angel Run or if it's going to be with us and another band. They're doing a co-bill. But I know we're definitely doing the Midwest, and I know we have dates booked for Canada, which is not that far from Chicago.
Nope.
And I know we have. I think we also have Kansas City. We're doing. I'm not sure how far that is from you, but
Okay. Yeah.
um, I
Five,
don't know.
6 hours kind of thing. Yeah, we can do
There
that.
you go.
Mike, as I say, always appreciate you, man.
I
Yeah,
appreciate you too, man.
I'll see you soon.
All
All
right, have
right.
a good one. Bye
Be
bye.
well. Merry Christmas to you too.
Happy holidays. Yep, have a
All
good
right.
one.
You
And say
too.
hello to Bridget.
Yep,
Oh,
absolutely will.
she's kicking ass.
She
Yeah.
is, man. She is. It's great. I love it. I'll see you, Mike. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.